The first time I ever saw my son stand up to power, he wasn't even supposed to be there. It was a Tuesday afternoon in Manhattan, one of those hot summer days where the sidewalks feel like they're steaming, and I'd brought him along because his school was closed for plumbing repairs. I told him to keep his head down, stay quiet, sit by the janitor's cart while I scrubbed floors in a skyscraper office he had no business being in. He was 14, skinny, with a backpack that looked too heavy for his frame, and eyes that never missed a detail. I was on my knees scrubbing a scuff mark off marble when I heard his voice. It was soft, almost apologetic. "That's wrong." The entire conference room froze. A dozen executives in $1,000 suits turned, and so did the man at the head of the table, Miles Donovan, CEO of Donovan and Pierce International, a billionaire oil magnate with a Rolex so big it looked like a weapon. He narrowed his eyes at Liam, my boy, like he was staring at a bug he'd never seen before. "Excuse me." Liam blinked once, steady. "The contract on the screen. The French section says compensation. It should be liquidated damages." There was laughter, sharp and dismissive, rippling through the room. A janitor's kid correcting French legal terms. One guy snickered. Miles leaned forward, smirking. "And you know this." "How?" "Because compensation is ambiguous in French arbitration," Liam said quietly. "It could make you lose your indemnity claim." The smirk faltered. A woman at the far end of the table, a sharp-eyed exec in a white suit, grabbed her laptop, scrolling. Her face went pale. "He's right," she muttered. The laughter died instantly. Miles turned his full attention on Liam. "Kid, how many languages do you think you speak?" Liam hesitated, then said it clear. 9. The room exploded in disbelief. Miles chuckled, dark amusement dripping off every word. 9? Huh? Name them. English, Spanish, French, German, Arabic, Mandarin, Russian, Italian, Portuguese. That got everyone's attention. Even the woman in white, the one I later learned was CFO Grace Hunter, leaned forward. Miles crossed his arms, leaning back against the table. "I grew up in Beirut. Arabic's in my blood. Want to try that one on me?" Liam met his gaze without blinking. The words rolled off his tongue, smooth, natural. Miles blinked. Grace's eyebrows shot up. I didn't even know what Liam had said, but I could feel the weight in the air shift. "What did you just say?" Miles asked. "Those who talk the most often know the least," Liam replied. The silence in that boardroom was deafening. Miles studied him, something sharp flickering in his expression. "How old are you? 14. And where'd you learn Arabic?" "The library," Liam said simply. Grace looked like she'd been slapped. Miles tilted his head, intrigued, but not convinced. "You expect me to believe a janitor's son speaks 9 languages because of a library card?" Liam shrugged. "Believe what you want. I just didn't want you to sign a contract that would cost your company millions." Grace checked another section and froze. "There's another mistake," she whispered. Liam pointed at it before she could. "Portuguese. Intervenção should be mediação. Changes the whole arbitration process." Miles's jaw tightened. He looked at me, still kneeling with a dripping mop. "What's your name, Jack?" I muttered, voice shaking. "You ever tell me your kid was a prodigy?" "Jack?" I shook my head. Didn't think it mattered. He looked back at Liam. "It matters. A lot." That day changed everything. Miles promoted me on the spot. And Liam, he was offered a part-time consulting role, 14 years old. And suddenly he was sitting in glass offices fixing contracts for one of the biggest companies in New York. For a while, I thought that was the end of it. A miracle moment. A good break. But my son, he saw more than I did. He always did. 2 weeks later, he asked me for an audio recorder. Said it was for studying pronunciation. I didn't ask questions. I should have. Because the next time we sat across from Miles Donovan, my boy slid that recorder across the table, hit play, and let Miles hear his own voice echoing back. "They're all the same, lazy, entitled. That's why I don't hire them." Miles's face drained of color. Grace sat next to him, arms crossed. Liam leaned forward, calm as ever. You never even looked at me in that elevator, he said softly. But I was there, listening. This is illegal, Miles snapped. Not in New York, Grace cut in. One-party consent law. He was present. Miles slammed his hand on the table. This is extortion. Liam didn't flinch. No, this is accountability. I wanted to pull him out of that room to tell him he'd gone too far, but Liam had this steel in his voice I'd never heard before. Here's what I want, he said, sliding 3 papers forward. First, you promote my dad. 80 grand a year. Full benefits backdated. Second, you fund a scholarship program for kids like me. Third, you hire me officially. Junior linguistic consultant. Access to documents where I can actually help you. Miles's nostrils flared. You're 14, he spat. And I saved you 50 million in one meeting, Liam shot back. I'm not asking for a corner office. I'm offering you protection from yourself. Grace's lips curled into the faintest smile. He's not wrong. Miles turned on her furious. You're siding with them. I'm siding with talent, she said coolly, and with fixing the messes you keep ignoring. The tension in that room was electric, like a thunderstorm about to break. I stood up, my voice shaking. Mr. Donovan, I didn't raise a genius. I raised a boy who knows his worth. And that scares you. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Miles picked up his gold pen, signed the papers with a single stroke, and shoved them back across the table. Get out, he growled. We walked out together, Liam's backpack bouncing on his shoulder, my heart pounding like I'd run a marathon. That day, my son didn't just change his future, he changed mine. The next 3 months were a whirlwind. Liam became known as the Fixer. He closed deals that had been stalled for years, spotted translation traps that could have tanked international partnerships, and somehow found time to teach kids at the community center every Friday night. Grace started dropping by our apartment, bringing rare books for him to read. Miles kept his distance, but I could see something shifting in him. He'd sit in meetings watching Liam work silent, thoughtful. Then the headlines came. Janitor's son saves Fortune 500 company. Teen linguistic prodigy reshapes global contracts. Overnight, Liam went from invisible to viral. And with that came the whispers. He blackmailed his way to the top. It's all a PR stunt. I caught him one night scrolling through the comments, his face unreadable. Doesn't bother you, I asked. He didn't look up. It does, he said softly. But it won't stop me. A week later, he stood behind a podium at a press conference, no tie, no flash, just a plain navy blazer and that same quiet fire in his eyes. I didn't blackmail anyone, he said into the cameras. I negotiated for dignity, for my father, for every janitor, bus driver, cafeteria worker, and kid who's smarter than people give them credit for. Justice isn't charity, it's earned. The clip went viral in hours. Applications for the scholarship program tripled overnight. Politicians started calling. Grace joked that Liam had become more influential than half the board. But Liam never let the fame stick to him. He still took the train downtown with a heavy backpack, still taught kids how to say hello in 6 languages, still folded paper cranes late at night, a habit from when his mom died, and I used to make one for him every night just to keep the nightmares away. One cold evening, Grace came by after work. She handed me an old Italian poetry book she'd found, said it reminded her of me. We sat at the kitchen table while Liam taught a shy little girl named Lenny how to fold her first crane. Grace watched him quietly, then looked at me. Do you ever wonder how many kids like him we've missed? She asked. I thought about it for a long time. Too many, I finally said. That's why he scares them. A month later, Lenny stood in Central Park reading a poem in German to a small crowd. Her scarf fluttered in the wind, her voice trembled, but never broke. Liam clapped first, then everyone joined in. Grace wiped tears from her eyes. And I just watched my boy tie her scarf tighter, watched him bend down to the forgotten and make them feel seen. That night, Miles Donovan showed up at the community center. No cameras, no entourage. He sat in the back of Liam's class and listened. Afterward, he walked outside and told me I want to fund 10 more of these centers. I nodded. You trying to fix your legacy? He looked at me, something raw in his eyes. I'm trying to invest in voices before they become echoes. Now, months later, Liam's name isn't just a headline anymore. He's building programs, rewriting policies, mentoring kids who remind him of himself. Grace has become more than just his ally. She's family. And me? I'm still carrying my old mop, not because I need it, but because I never want to forget where we started. Sometimes I catch Liam staring out over the city, that same quiet fire in his eyes. I asked him once, "You think the world's ready for kids like you?" He shook his head, smiled faintly. No. That's why I keep showing up. And maybe that's the lesson here, that real change doesn't come from noise or power plays. It comes from paper cranes folded in silence, from a boy who wouldn't stay invisible, from a father who just kept showing up. So tell me, what would you have done if you were in that boardroom? Would you have signed the contract? Do you think Liam was right to record that conversation, or was it too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your stories. And if you believe in second chances and giving kids a shot before the world decides their worth, hit that subscribe button. There are more stories like this coming, stories that remind us all what's possible when someone refuses to stay quiet.